If your career is shifting, your money story gets a vote in every decision that you're making. When you're stressed out about money, do you make better decisions or faster decisions? Most people go faster. And that's when your money story starts voting on everything and you don't even realize it. And it's not because you're bad at math or you should have planned better. It's because money isn't just money. It touches safety, options, identity, what you can say yes to, what you have to say no to. And when work gets uncertain, money stops being background noise and it walks right up to the microphone and says, hello, hello, is this thing on? Today, I'm going to give you a simple way to regulate the stress before you look at the numbers, a prompt to name what money is really saying, and a practical next step that you can take with a much, much clearer head. Hi, I'm Laverne McKinnon, and welcome to the Moonshot community. If you're navigating high stakes change, a career transition, or leading a team through uncertainty, you're in the right place. I'm a speaker, a career strategist, and a grief coach. I work with leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives to cut through the noise, regain traction, and make clear, aligned decisions spiritually, strategically, and tactically. Now, if you're finding what I have to say useful, please follow or subscribe so that you're going to get weekly insights on leadership, culture, and career transitions. I learned about my money story the hard way. The first time my unspoken money story showed up was in my early 20s when I was transitioning jobs and I was going through a divorce. At the time, I was barely earning more than my husband, who was a middle school teacher. And when we separated, he asked for financial support. I felt guilty about the state of our marriage, so I agreed. And then my guilt met fear, and I made a decision I ultimately couldn't sustain. I just started to rack up a lot of credit card debt. And I was just trying to keep everything looking fine and like I was completely normal. But it got so bad, I had to cut myself off from my credit cards. And I used the envelope system, actual cash and actual envelopes. And I would label them gas, food, utilities, car repair, so that I knew how much money I had for each of those categories. And I couldn't spend anything more than the money that was in that envelope. Now, there were no envelopes for going out, clothing, or self-care because all I could hear in my head was, there isn't enough. There will never be enough. Those sentences, my money story, they didn't come out of nowhere. It was inherited. My dad grew up during the Great Depression, and my mom lived in poverty in Japan during World War II. So not having enough was a very true lived experience for them. Now, I've been incredibly fortunate to have enough, but that generational trauma, it is in me. So this is why I'm talking about money in a post about career strategy, because during a setback or a pivot or a dry spell between gigs, your money story is going to cast a vote on what you do or you don't do. It's going to influence what work you take, how quickly you panic, whether you're avoiding looking at your bank accounts or whether you undercharge, whether you overgive. Man, it is really, really impactful. You do not have to shame yourself for your money story, but you do need to take a look at what it's triggering because you could be making some decisions that are actually not great for you. Okay, let's clarify what a money story is. Your money story is the relationship that you have with money. It's what money represents to you, what it proves, what it threatens, what it feels like. For some people, money equals safety. For others, it equals freedom. For others, it equals worth. And for a lot of high achieving people, especially in unpredictable industries, money becomes evidence. Evidence that you're doing it right, evidence that you're still valuable, evidence that you can relax. That is a lot to ask of money. When work gets shaky, money anxiety can get really, really loud. And money anxiety tends to do two things at once. First, it triggers your nervous system into threat mode. So that's why your body feels bad. Second, it distorts perception. So those panic thoughts, they start masquerading as reality and you cannot separate the truth from story. So before we do the numbers, I want to offer something that sounds simple, but honestly, it changes everything. Regulate your nervous system first. Then look at the numbers of what's coming in and what's going out, what you have in savings, and where you can side hustle. My client, April, she came to see me in a full blown panic. It was early 2024. And as an actress and a writer, she'd already been hit pretty hard by the COVID years when there was just, very little work flowing through the entertainment industry. And then in 2023, there were the actor and the writer strikes. And whoa, everything just ground to a halt for her. Her nervous system was a wreck and she was in constant panic and she couldn't see clearly. Before we opened a spreadsheet, we worked with her body. And this isn't because breath work pays rent, but because you cannot make a clean career decision when your system is convinced you're in danger. So I just want to give you a couple of examples of regulation tools that April and I used. They're practical. They're very, very simple to use, but there are a lot of different choices. So just find something that works for you. The first is extended exhale breathing. So you do this by inhaling for a count, let's say 4, and then you just double the count for your exhale. See, if I was inhaling for 4, I would be exhaling for 8. You do about 6 to 8 rounds of this. And what it does is it calms the parasympathetic nervous system and it lets your body know you are safe. I actually frequently do this type of breathing technique when I'm going to sleep at night, when I just like lie in my bed, and it just really, really calms me. Another tool that we've used is tapping. Now, how do you do this? You tap very gently on points like the side of the hand, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, the collarbone, while you say a simple 2-part sentence. The first part names what you're feeling or noticing, and then the second part adds a cue of safety, choice, or self support. So you're not trying to talk yourself out of the feeling. You're simply opening up the lens so that you can remind your body that you are safe and that you can stay here with the feeling. So, for example, my money story is loud right now. I'm the one who gets to choose. So, why this works? Pairing steady tapping with naming what's true can lower intensity and help your nervous system shift out of alarm so then you can access that clarity and that wisdom that lives inside of you. Another one is working with deep pressure touch. So you use this, or you do this with like a weighted blanket, or you can drape something really heavy over your shoulders, or even like hugging a pillow. It helps if it's a fatter, firm pillow as opposed to one of those like soft, flat ones. And you just hold that pillow to your chest for 2 to 5 minutes. So why this works? Deep pressure can be calming because it gives your body a sense of containment. And then finally, this one is another really easy one to do. It's wall support. You simply stand with your back against a wall. Your feet are grounded, one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and you just stand there for 60 to 90 seconds. You can combine this with the inhale, exhale breathing, where the exhale is longer. This works because your body gets a felt sense of support. So it's taking it out of your mind and you're actually physically feeling it. And that matters when everything feels uncertain. So here's the thing. These aren't magic tricks. They're actually proven techniques. They're a way of telling your body that you're safe so that you are safe enough to take a look, because that's the real goal. Safe enough to look, safe enough to get honest, safe enough to make a decision that's not driven by panic. And once you do that, you are meeting your story directly. When money feels tense, a lot of people do one of two things. They obsess, they spiral into worst case scenarios, or they go into avoidance mode, hoping the problem is going to just magically disappear. So, as you know from listening to me, watching me, I'm a big, big believer in hugging the bear. We always need to know what the truth is. Truth is data so that we can make decisions that align with our values and purpose. Okay. One more tool that I want to give you, which is a journal exercise, because it really, really helps to slow everything down and helps widen that perspective. It turns that monkey mind swirling language into the tangible thoughts that you can work with. Now, I learned this tool from my very first coach, Mona Miller, rest in peace. And I still use it today because it is so highly effective at getting underneath all the noise. So I'm going to talk you through the writing prompt. And when you're writing, the goal is not to edit, just put all of your thoughts down because there's information there. And I'm also going to put this prompt in the show notes as well. So here, I'm going to talk you through it. Dear Money is how you're going to start the prompt. And then you're going to write, when I look at you, I see, and then you're going to finish that sentence. Now, some of my clients do like a sentence, words, phrases. Other clients will just like write an entire paragraph or a page or even a novel. Just whatever is coming up for you, go ahead and write it. In the same prompt, Dear Money, when I look at you, I see. When I look at you, I feel. When I look at you, I think. When I look at you, I believe. When I look at you, I act like. And this is from you to Money. And then you sign your name. So with each sentence, you're finishing that statement, and it can be a complete sentence. It can be a couple words. It can be a phrase, or again, it can be an entire paragraph or pages and pages. The goal here is just whatever is coming up, just let it come up and put it on paper. And if there's repetition or things that you're saying from one prompt, match up what you do in another prompt, beautiful. You're not doing anything wrong. Now, the super, super fun part is part 2 of this journal prompt where you flip it. And then it's Money using these same prompts, writing to you. So we start with, Dear, your name, and it's going to be signed from Money. When I look at you, I see. When I look at you, I feel. When I look at you, I think, act, believe, and act like. So what we're doing here is we're looking for themes or patterns. For April, and I'm not going to share with you what she wrote because that's personal and private to her, but she does give me permission to say that the theme that she discovered was that money was proof. Proof she was successful in a difficult field. Proof she was making the right choices. Proof she was still allowed to belong. So every dip or stoppage in her income, it felt like a personal failure. So once she saw that, she now had the leverage because her money story wasn't running the meeting in secret. She knew, she outed her money story. Career strategy comes back when you name what you're protecting. This is the part that pulls everything together. So when your money story gets loud and you're feeling it in your body, and it starts pushing you towards choices that you can, that step on your values. So it's really important to know what your values are so you can match your actions with your values. So and those values help you become a decision filter. So April told me that her values included achievement, freedom, love, and travel. And this is what we noticed of how the money story was impacting those core values. Achievement turned into a scoreboard. Money became the proof that she was doing her career right. So she felt pressure to take anything immediately, even if it didn't align with her dreams. Freedom got replaced with avoidance. She stopped looking at her checkbook, at her bank account, because she assumed that it would trap her. And then that kept her trapped because she was refusing to look at it. Love, whoa, this turned into overgiving. She would say yes to things because she felt guilty for saying no. And she really wanted to be able to have that sense of love and connection and belonging. So she was blowing through money, doing things with her loved ones and her friends that she didn't really want to do. And then finally, travel became a symbol of, I'm okay. But if she couldn't afford it, she felt like she was failing. So she swung between denial and deprivation. Now, when we broke all of that down, it allowed her to see the pattern so that she could interrupt it. First, remember, she regulated her nervous system and she got clear and returned to her values. Then she looked at the numbers without spiraling. What she discovered was really amazing. She actually had more runway than she thought. Not infinite runway, but enough runway to choose with intention. So she chose to hold off on travel so that she could have more time to book jobs that were a match for her. So this is what I mean when I say your money story gets a vote. It's going to show up in the room, but it doesn't have to run the meeting. Okay. At this point, if you're thinking, okay, I get it, but I still have 100 questions, that makes absolute sense. Now, some of your questions might be emotional, some of them might be more practical, like what do I cut? How do I plan when income is inconsistent? What do I first do after a layoff? So I invited my friend and money mentor, Katie Chen Mazzara, to join me for a Substack Live conversation. Katie is a trauma informed coach who pivoted out of entertainment pre pandemic, and she's willing to share what helped her make that pivot. And she's going to answer your money questions. A quick note though, the conversation that we're having with Katie, it's educational and not financial advice. So for guidance specific to your situation, always talk with a qualified financial professional. But I hope that you're going to join us Thursday, February 12th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be a fabulous conversation with Katie. Okay, bottom line, if your career is shifting, your money story gets a vote in every decision that you're making. So regulate first so you can see clearly, name the money story that's hogging the spotlight, reconnect to what you're trying to protect, because career strategy, it's not just planning, it's choosing well, even when your system wants to panic. Before you go, a very big thank you to Amanda Kenny, our social media and digital strategist, and to Lauren Deacon for leading Moonshot Mentor operations. Thank you so much for being here. And until next week, keep going after your moonshot.